So it's, you know, running the president's office, doing all that entails. And we have also our assistant vice president of strategic and innovative initiatives on our green team, as well as housing director and facilities, buildings and grounds director, and student life representative too. So we do have some folks that have sort of the VP and sort of on the leadership team on our green team, which I think is really great in some ways. It means we have, you know, buy-in from the top level, which is really helpful and important in kind of moving these things forward. At the same time, one of the things I've encountered that's been a struggle for me is carving out the time between all of the other important things that demand my attention to really put some focused, serious effort towards this certification process. And we do, and it is really important, and it's something I'm personally very passionate about. So I kind of make it work. But it is, yeah, that's just one thing I've noticed, is that with sort of the higher up and the more responsibilities within the role, the harder it is to get specific direct attention as much as I like on this work. So that's just been, so if there are other practices or experiences that others have had, I would be really interested in kind of knowing how to juggle those responsibilities a little bit better, just my personal experience.
Yeah. Dean Moore, can you say some about what it's like to be the dean and on a green team?
Yes, and it's I had the same challenges that you were just describing, so I can identify with that quite a lot. One of the reasons I'm chair of our green team is because our co-chair is new to the faculty, and she's pre-tenure, and we're trying not to overload her, but in truth, she's doing a huge amount of work. So we've just divided up the responsibilities. And in terms of campus-wide engagement, that's a challenge because it does involve time. And in my role as dean, I have a huge amount of work to do in all kind of directions, and every aspect of that, or most aspects, are pretty important. So I'm always doing the juggling act. But since I've been dean, I've been working on this, and that's now 10 years. So I've been working on it pretty intensely, and we've been doing step by step. But this is a perfect year for us to be part of the certificate program, because Becky Copeland is now on our faculty, and our Director of Finance and Administration is an avid green fan, and he is very good at working with grounds and other buildings, grounds, and so on. And so basically we have a team now. And we've always had a team, but we've had to put it together. And each year we get a bigger and more solid team. And our team always involves some students. So that is really terrific. We've also worked with sustainability at BU. The juggling act is huge. And I think two things I've learned, but not learned as well as I need to. One is that there's no way a person or even a small group of people can do this work well. So what's really important, but there's no way to build an ethos and a passion that's institution-wide overnight. So it's a matter of building step by step and just keeping the long vision in mind. And that has really worked for us. And we've accomplished a lot in the last 10 years, but one of the things we've accomplished is to build a stronger base so that we now have the capacity to build more and better and larger, more comprehensively. So that's actually a really good thing for us. The thing about public engagement, though, is still a challenge. And I would like for us to be more connected with greening across BU, not just sustainability office, but others across the university, and we're working on that. We're doing it in a lot of different ways. And I would also like us to be more involved with local community groups, maybe groups where our thecology group, we have a thecology group that student initiated and student sponsored, that we have usually Becky Copeland's working very closely with it this year. Anyway, the ecology group or a class can go do participate in an ongoing counting of fish or an ongoing cleaning up of an area or some other projects, structural projects that are within the larger Boston or Massachusetts public, and that's something we're still working on.
Great.
All of this we're still working on.
It's a process, right? You start somewhere, and that's why the certification takes 3 years, because you start somewhere and then work together and figure out who the people are and where you have energy and time. Yeah. I wonder if, and Dennis, jump in too. We're just, because we're a small group, we're just kind of jumping right into discussion. I wonder about the opportunities with high-level leadership on the green team to do things like including board resolutions and policies in terms of job descriptions and training for both board and faculty members as they join the institution, right? If that's easier with high-level green team, or if there's more to navigate. And I also wonder how particularly students find out about that kind of leadership and those commitments. So I wonder if any of you can speak to that in your institution.
The answer to your question from my point of view is yes. And because I've been working to fill gaps and get people connected, I've not done as much of that as I could have. I'm an advocate, so people know that. They hear me battle off. But now that we have a larger team and we have a number of students involved in it, then I think actually I could pull back from some of those pieces because they're in really good hands and do more of the kind of pieces you just named. So I appreciate that question.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was pretty easy to get the board resolution before the board because I format and put together the board materials. So talk to the president and say, you know, is this okay? This is part of our certification, you know, is it all right that it goes at this time? And she was very supportive of that. And so we were able to work with an appropriate committee and get that through the board meeting and have that be supported pretty easily because, you know, it's kind of right in the heart of my work. And similarly, we have a new, our director of apartments, buildings and grounds is transitioning out to work on his own business. And so we're hiring for that position right now, or we just posted the job at the moment. And so in discussion with the HR person, I was able to say, you know, this person has been a key member of our green team. Is there a way that we can say, you know, we need someone in this role who is an advocate or support or willing to learn, you know, something like that to be supportive of those things. So those, from my perspective in this context, has been a little bit easier to kind of get those kinds of things.
Could I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
We do similar things, and we've done it with we had a green initiative, a green strategic plan 9.5 years ago, and we have had it. We have a new one now, and we've done the same thing with our board. But what I discover is even though they approve these and they say yes, they don't show the kind of energy around those reports and discussions that they show around a lot of other subjects. So I'm curious if you have any suggestions or good ideas from your own experience that generate interest in people who may not be centrally interested in ecological matters at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think part of the answer for us is that we are fortunate that number of our board members are particularly interested in this already. So there is already some energy in discussion and follow-up and feedback around these issues. So we are pretty lucky in that area. Another way that I have found to communicate that, or just sort of keep some energy going when we've gotten it, is by putting updates in any board materials that we send to boards. So when we send our board other updates and things, we'll just include, and here's what we've done in this, in our green initiatives, and just kind of always keep it in front of them, keep it on their mind. And then I think another way is we've just sort of identified it as a strategic priority for the seminary. And so we've said, this is something that we believe is critical to our mission, critical to our work in the world, it's critical to our students, it's critical to people who might be students here. And so this is important in terms of admissions and enrollment, important in terms of our theological, I'll scoot forward a little bit. It's important in terms of our theological commitments and grounding too. So I think, so those are just some of the ideas that are coming to mind in ways that we engage our board, is to A, keep it in front of them, and B, connect it to other things that are important to them, like enrollment, mission, and sort of, the bottom line and sort of financial concerns as well. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's just been a couple of things that we've tried to do. I'd love to keep thinking about ways we can keep them engaged and kind of get them more interested in their work too. But we are lucky that they are starting from a place of excitement already.
That's helpful for me, because we do all the things you just described. And of course, our board, because we're an embedded School of Theology, is an advisory board and not a decision-making board in terms of finances and that kind of thing. But what we don't have is what you said at the beginning, and that is even one to three board members who are already committed to this as one of their central values. A lot of people really go for it. They want to be ecological, sustainable, and just. But thanks for that. That was a really helpful comment you made.
Yeah, absolutely. I have found, I think we have maybe 3 or 4 board members who are really excited and passionate about this, who are working with our development folks to, garner some support in financial ways for this kind of work at the seminary, which is really, really important. But yeah, good luck. And then in terms of the student question, I don't know if either of you want to jump in.
Yeah, please.
About these things, but share. No pressure.
Yep.
I think we're certainly seeing challenges and changing because of the student body as well. We're new students, so we're still getting our feet wet in terms of what the campus culture is. But recently, we've introduced composting in our community meals that happen each week, and in some ways, that's going over really well. Folks are excited, and we're also recognizing challenges we have in terms of this just not being on folks' radars. So it's challenging to explore at different places in terms of awareness and desire to be engaged. At least that's what I'm finding the first couple of months.
I think I lost a little bit of the last thing that you said. I don't know if anybody else had that happen.
Yeah, what was the last part I said? Just that I think that folks are at different places in the student body in terms of wanting to be engaged, and their awareness and comfort with ideas around sustainability in general. It's a mixed bag, and I think that creates.
Yeah, that's great. So I think the last piece that Fletcher, so Fletcher was meant to come and have a chat with us about public leadership, not just on like board descriptions and faculty descriptions, but also how we think as institutions around protest and getting involved with more local initiatives. I think Christian Theological Seminary is an excellent example of how they as an institution got behind trying to save the forest across the street from them. And so I wonder if those are things that you all at Garrett and Union and Boston are thinking about, or if that's not yet a place where you all are in terms of thinking about, as an institution, getting behind an initiative, a political initiative, or a local issue.
So we actually just applied for, and I just found out the other day that we received a small grant to fund an interfaith climate action summit at Garrett in the spring. So we're going to reach out to local interfaith leaders here and the city as well. City's doing a lot with climate action resiliency plan that they're implementing and in the process of implementing sort of a second version of it. And so we're going to be doing that in the spring, which is exciting. And a number of our students in the past have been involved with the People's Climate March when it was in Chicago, or Climate March here, and some other kind of public engagement like that. But so anyway, we're really excited about the grant, and that's one way we're excited to involve our local community and be more of a part of that work too.
That's great. Thank you. I can't wait to hear more about that. Dennis or Dean Moore, what's your thinking at your institutions?
Our theology group sponsors things regularly that are done sometimes with teams in the city or near our environs, and sometimes with others in the university. We also do that. We have sponsored several kinds of projects, and often also in classes where a class will have action projects as part of the class. This is something that we're building a program, so we're going to have a religion and faith and ecological justice program that has been established now, and we're working on establishing also a certificate. So we'll have that set before probably about early spring. But those give us the opportunity to escalate these things. We've also done some of it in our building. So we did with the idea that if you build a space that inspires you regularly to be more ecologically just, then that would be a way of stirring further action. So we completely gutted our basement and created a community center that was LEED's Gold approved, which is not bad for renovation of a building that's 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And we did other things like that, and we keep trying to build. I do think we could do more with the university and also with the larger community. So that's still an area we're growing in, but we have seeds already planted, and this new program that we've established will actually help us a lot in escalating our work, I think.
That sounds great. So what resources or connections would be helpful from Green Seminary Initiative and or Green Faith as you're thinking about public leadership and the certification process?
Abby, I think these conversations are helpful. I think it's really helpful to hear from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I like the conversation, and I like experiences of folks. I think it's really helpful just to have more context for this kind of,
Mm-hmm.
more than just your own institution. So that's really really great. I think too, if there are sort of tips or pointers or conversation starters or information that could be shared with board members
Mm-hmm.
or other constituencies like alums or friends at the seminary, in our case, things like that. Something that is easily shareable, digestible, sort of says why this is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of resources are helpful for me too, just since I don't always have time to create them or
Yeah.
find them on my own. So there may already be those kinds of resources out there, and I'm just not aware, but pointing in that direction. Just to have more.
Yeah. I actually don't know that we've created that kind of resource before. And so now I want to think through what that would look like. So, yeah. So here's my sense about these conversations going forward. What I would like to do is send out a very short, very simple survey to all the schools to ask, one, if these conversations have been helpful in the last year, two, if folks would like them to continue, and then three, to kind of vote on a time for the year coming forward. And since y'all are on the phone, do you think that's a good way to move forward? Would you like anything else to be on that survey that I'm going to send out? Also, my hope is that the survey will take about 2 minutes to fill out. Okay, Dennis gave me the thumbs up, so I feel good about that. Great. Okay, so I don't have anything else for this conversation. Is there anything else that you all would like to talk about? I'm certainly free for the next half hour, and also happy to end the conversation early. Hooray! Well, in this season of Thanksgiving and end of the year time, I want to be really clear about my appreciation and gratitude for each of you and for your schools and green teams. We're not going to meet next month because it's the end of the year. And if we're not grading papers or finishing papers, we'll be ending our times for the year. And so look for that survey. I'll send this recording out to everyone so they get to hear kind of the stories from each of you. And thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
Yep. Okay, have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.